It's time for Miller and Williams on Iowa Everywhere. Presented by Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino. This is Iowa Everywhere.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Miller and Williams here. If you're one of the few watching us live, it's on a Thursday. Most of you are listening to this on your podcast feeds on a Friday. And I guess we should tell people what the reason I said that is I throw it on live YouTube because there's a few people just have their YouTube on all the time and they
right.
but we don't do this live because your schedule and my schedule don't always mix. So we don't want to promote it and then have to change it around.
Right, because you're pretty busy and important. I just am along for the ride.
Stop it.
And whenever you make time in your schedule, I try to make it work for mine.
You're the gas man.
I am the gas man. Should get a license plate like that, like Kramer.
Yeah. Cosmo Kramer, the ass man.
The ass man.
Thanks to
Indeed.
Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino, your favorite place to play, for sponsoring the podcast here on Iowa Everywhere. I just feel like we should bring the audience into this before we get into whatever we're going to get into today.
The really important things we're going to talk about today.
Big 12's potential television deal is looming.
Right.
I want to talk about NCAA tournament expansion, a bunch of other things. But the hot topic of the day is we were texting last night about Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah. I'd sent you a meme that basically, I'm not going to say the person because I don't want to get political to start. It says, I'm so sick of people making fun of blank, blank, blank politician. Just leave her alone. And it was a picture of, I'm going to scroll up. It was a picture of
the dog.
The dog. And you sent to me, I was a big dog guy back in the day. His wife turned me on.
I don't know
for those of you
read it word for word, but that's okay. Look at them.
Well, yeah.
Look at them.
Tiggles. Yeah. So, you're the one that said, we started talking about this before the mic went on. You said, save it for the podcast. I'm like, okay. He didn't know what I was going to say. So I guess it's all in play. So yeah. So anyhow, you're a big dog guy. Was her name Elizabeth? Beth. Miss Elizabeth?
It was Beth, yeah.
That's Macho Man's sidekick. I wonder if you need to ask Hassel if Beth from Dog the Bounty Hunter was the inspiration behind his Cooter Ray's girlfriend, Crystal Beth. You remember her?
Cooter Ray having a girlfriend.
Oh, man. You didn't remember Crystal Beth? Oh, geez. You sexy son of a bitch. Oh, yeah. You got to ask him about that.
Need to look that one up.
You do.
I never really understood when I was a kid what dog was.
I thought you were going to say what attracted you to Beth.
No, I know what attracted me to Beth. It was
right.
The motherly,
Nope. I don't want to play this game. This road here. This is not on my Google Maps. I'm not turning down this highway. I'll talk about a lot of things, but I'm not a fan of that.
Put that picture of Beth back up. You'll know what attracted me to her. Young adolescent Chris Williams sitting around Clarinda, Iowa.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure there's part
what's
of
that hand? What's that hand lotion that people use a lot? They talk about. Jergens, right. Jergens. You might have had some Jergens because your hands get dry when you're a teenager, especially when you're a teenager. So anyhow, my focus is off. There we go. I'm back.
Welcome
back
to
in
the
focus.
podcast.
Back in focus now. Ready to go.
This is what happens when Iowa State's on a bye week and Iowa is a 31-point underdog or whatever it is right now.
Jesus. Did we really have? There's a million topics in the world that we can talk about, but you had to bring that one up.
It's Iowa Everywhere. It's kind of
it is. It's game week. What? By now, probably a lot of people saw that funny thing that you did with Matt Campbell. His what was it? F off.
Shut the F up, B.
Shut the F up, B. What's funny is that like you had sent me instructions on how to play along, and I replied back. So you said, "Hey, I'm going to send you guys a text, and I want you to reply back. Shut the F up, B." and that was in a string that you had with me and a couple of the people. And then you sent me a specific text just to me. And I said, so your text to me was, must have been an awesome weekend for you not having to watch that Iowa offense. Am I right, bro? Tough luck on your Chiefs. Better days ahead. Exclamation point. I thought Chris was just making conversation with me. So I said, dude, dude, phenomenal weekend. Golf 2 days in a row. No painful Iowa football. And you're like, John, you're supposed to reply.
Don't worry. Rosenfels did the same thing. He had no idea what to do either.
Good. You know, it's funny. You say Rosenfels. I'm like, is he saying that right? I thought it was Rosenblum, but it is Rosenfels. Yeah. It is. Rosenblum is just the name of the podcast.
You and Sage didn't really. Bohannon understood. He told me to shut the F up immediately.
Well, yeah, like he's been waiting for that. You probably, you say that Sage and I are a lot alike, so maybe our age was showing there. I don't know.
Sage was when I was trying to get you guys to respond to me in that way. Sage was at a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert.
Dude he's like a young Bill Walton.
Yeah.
Did I just nail it?
You did.
All right. Well done, John.
No, he is. He's a fascinating individual.
Yeah.
Just talking to him. And the best is when you get him, and you're going to be locked in a place for 5-6 hours. You don't have to worry about like driving and stuff.
For sure. The more authentic version of him, is allowed to come out, which is great. They
had a really good interview, Rosenblum, this week with Pete Thamel from ESPN on the future of college football. It was really good stuff. Kind of where I was going to start with you today. There is a report out on the Big 12's future television deal from Dennis Dodd, I believe, from CBS is the one who reported this. So Brett Yormark is this new I think it was Dan Wetzel described him as he's like a character from Billions.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Billions? We've talked about this.
Love Billions. Yeah. Love Billions.
So Yormark's this kind of really ultra aggressive, always wearing a slim fitting suit. Like he's kind of the total opposite of Bob Bowlesby in that sense. Bob was a very much a lifer in college sports and did the whole academia thing at Stanford and the Midwestern guy.
Right.
Yormark has been very ultra aggressive. The numbers right now, John, look to be like it would after playoff and NCAA tournament and all that stuff. What I'm hearing, around $50 million a year for the new Big 12, which I think is a huge win if they can pull that number.
That would be remarkable. That would be Rasputin rising from death once again, because the Big 12's written off as dead every other week, it seems like. Can't believe these talk show hosts do that to the Big 12. They just throw things out there and say it's dead and that Iowa State's going to have to join the MAC. They have no shame whatsoever. And, I did see something I sent you and got no reply. I didn't reply back to your dog joke that you made, which was hilarious. But you didn't reply back to what I sent that said that maybe Iowa State and some other schools are going to go join the Pac-12.
That's because that was total horseshit.
Like as in like an intentional lie? Did I text you a link to something that was just a fabrication?
I thought you were just messing with me when you sent me that. Honestly, because the post underneath that tweet was the same author going, "Oh yeah, I don't know anything. This isn't even true. I'm just playing around."
Well, see, I didn't read beyond the first tweet. I just really thought that was some sizzle. And frankly, this serves a really good purpose right now. What we're doing, this is an object lesson. And I did this on purpose. I knew it was fake. Just to make sure that you are not running off chasing after red herrings. And congratulations, you passed the test.
I'm gonna send dog after you.
Yeah, you know
Like,
what?
I
I moved
thought,
so much he doesn't know where I'm at.
like, wait a minute. This guy's job, he's not a cop. But, like, what the hell are the police doing in
He's Herschel Walker.
Hawaii?
Did he have a badge?
I don't understand. Like,
Because really, all you need is a badge, apparently,
oh yeah, ask
and you're a
Herschel.
cop, right?
Herschel Walker ruined my life at a young age.
Whoa! This is breaking news. Herschel Walker ruins Chris Williams' life.
He made me a Vikings fan. So single worst decision of my life at that age. Dad was a Cowboy, still is a Cowboys fan. My favorite player gets traded. I went with my favorite player on the worst trade in the history of sports. That's the type of decision-making prowess I have. He ruined my life, made me a Vikings fan.
Listen, you were young. When we're young, most Americans are indoctrinated to a certain extent. A lot of talk about indoctrination goes on in today's world, but there's a great deal of indoctrination that never gets talked about, and that's what happens to most people when they're home from birth to the age of 18. And you made some mistakes, but you're an adult now. And we are not always condemned to be the people that we once were. So, my friend, there are, 30 other teams, 31 other teams? Go ahead. Feel free. Step out. Make a change.
I can't do it.
Well, then your suffering is self-inflicted. Ergo, you are a masochist.
Because here's what will happen. I truly believe this. If I were to leave the Vikings now, they would win a Super Bowl next year.
Right.
If I stay with the Vikings, they will never win a Super Bowl before I die.
Well, that's just stupid.
No, I truly believe it.
Well, I know, but you don't. It's superstition. That's dumb. My kids last night at the dinner table said, jinx. Don't jinx it, Dad. And I looked at them in the eye and said, jinxes are for the weak of mind. Pass me the butter.
Pass me the fucking butter.
And it's better be butter, not this plant-based butter shit your mom's buying that actually is really delicious.
It's spread so delightfully.
Now you got to slap an E on this freaking episode.
Yeah, it's Miller's first E.
Ah, fuck it. That might be my first podcast.
And it all started with Dog the Bounty Hunter. And
it led to Herschel, and it led to the Vikings. But again, so with your Vikings, do you have any other NFL team that you have any sense of emotional attachment to? None?
The Cowboys I root for because that was my first team because my dad.
All right. So I grew up, I was born in 1971. Grandparents lived in Northwest Missouri. Would get dropped off there for sometimes weeks at a time in the summer. That's what happens. They had no television in Stanberry, Missouri back in 1977, 78. No TV.
Stanberry, really? Because I used to cover them 8-player football. They had a really good program. I called some Stanberry games.
There you go. My brother and I would play catch in the front yard, and while my grandparents were listening to Denny Matthews and Frank White, listening to the Royals games. That's how I became a Royals fan. Well, then in 1980, I don't know, I'm guessing 82, 83, we moved to the other side of West Branch, and we lived a couple houses down from Scotty and Richie Stout. Richie was a big Cubs fan. Every day, the leadoff man would come on at 1 o'clock. Cubs games then, first pitch was 1:20. On WGN, the Superstation. We'd be playing all sorts of games all morning long, have lunch, be playing games. All the game playing would stop when the Cubs came on because Rich was going to watch the Cubs. So it pissed me off, but then I started watching the Cubs too, and I started to like the Cubs. And then 84 happened, and I really liked the Cubs. Then 89, before Will Clark knocked them out. So I was a Cubs and a Royals fan.
Mm-hmm.
On the John Miller Show, back in the 2000s. So we're fast forwarding now. The Cubs had just lost another postseason series. I think it was to the Dodgers. They got their asses swept out. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done giving any more of my life, my time, my emotion to this woebegone franchise. I'm divorcing them. Had a divorce attorney on for a segment asking how I could go through it. So I turned it into a bit, but it was legit. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? I'm going back 100% with the Royals because at least I know the Royals are going to suck and they're not going to tear my heart out, right? So that's like 2006, 2007. Well, fast forward to 2015, Royals won. 2014, when they made the playoffs on that Salvador Perez somehow he pulled it down the line when everybody knows he's going to try to pull it, and the pitch was 6 inches off the plate, and he still pulled it. I cried. That's my fandom. Fast forward to the Cubs a year later. I wondered how I would feel if the Cubs won, because I really and legitimately gave a lot of my time and my emotion to the Cubs. When the Cubs won, I was happy for my friends that had remained Cubs fans. I felt nothing. You don't have to be this way. You're choosing to be this way.
Interesting.
Cowboys, baby.
No, I still root for them, and I'll root for the Chiefs because they're local, and I really like Mahomes, but it's nothing like the Vikings. I can't leave the Vikings.
I mean, because if you started cheering for the Chiefs, that'd feel a little bandwagony, right?
Well, I can't now. Yeah, you can't.
Right?
Now.
Yeah, you got to wait till Mahomes is done, and then they're nothing for another 40 years.
No,
but the Cowboys,
hated the Chiefs growing up because they were the other local team.
Right there, you go.
So
the Cowboys, at least you have an in. So.
I just love Mahomes because the Big 12 stuff, and I started following Mahomes when he was like a sophomore in high school when he was being recruited.
I just love Mahomes because he's from the Big 12.
No, he represents.
You sound like a Bama fan.
Shut up. He represents an era where everybody, all they did was shit on the Big 12, no defense, right? And I kept telling people we all want to be right, correct? We've discussed this.
Unfortunately.
And I hung my hat on this guy's different. Everybody should want a piece of this guy. When the Chiefs drafted him, I called it one of the greatest draft picks of all time. Like and I was right about Mahomes. It's my sports-wise like the most accurate I've ever been on anything, and I just like him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy by all means. Like I like Patrick Mahomes, and he's a guy who like I don't sit and root for the Chiefs. I'm not, but if I'm watching, like I'm absolutely going to root for him over Josh Allen, and I don't have anything against Josh Allen. It's just I like Patrick Mahomes.
Right. That's fine. That's good. Nothing wrong with that.
Baker Mayfield is a Heisman Trophy winner and left because he knew he couldn't play because that's how good Patrick Mahomes was.
Baker got paid, though.
He did.
A little bit.
He ain't no Patrick Mahomes.
No, he's no Chase Daniels either.
Chase Daniel was a heartbreaker for Iowa State guy. Iowa State fans hate Chase Daniels.
Yeah.
Anyways, this Big 12 TV.
Do Iowa State fans hate the refs even more this week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they should. They should. If I was an Iowa State fan, I could and you know I'm not a big conspiracy believer. I mean, I just texted you this morning. Every time I see UFO videos where there's a light in the sky, I instantly believe that's not a UFO because an advanced technology doesn't need lights, right?
That makes sense to me. That's
logical.
That's one of the smartest things you've ever said.
It's Occam's razor. It's how I live my life. All right. So
by the way, Steve Kemp told me, the guy who he said Occam's razor for him is what is the most likely thing to happen. It's
the
Miller
simplest explanation.
Or Miller is going to go back to being what he knows he is because he's heard it for 20 years. That's what Steve says.
Steve,
Occam's razor.
Well done. Well done. And logically and to the letter of Occam's, I do not disagree with you. I just need, another 15 years on the other side of Snark to prove that wrong. But well done. Well played. And you know what? You're not wrong from a logical standpoint. You're going to miss it out on this one. Unless Williams pushes me over the edge, then all bets are off.
Well, we haven't gotten the basketball season yet.
Well, which we know that. No, I'm not going to do it. Nope. Stop myself right there.
I'm just saying it's easy for me, like in football season, because I genuinely kind of like Kirk Ferentz.
Right. Wait a second. You don't like Fran McCaffrey?
I'm not saying I don't like him personally, because I don't like Fran has always been nothing but nice to me.
Seems like a great dude, actually.
Yeah, he's never done anything to me. It's much harder for me to root for Iowa basketball than it is Iowa football.
I don't care for, and this is not breaking news, I don't care for Fran's blow-ups. I don't mind getting feisty, getting upset, getting a charge in your players. I just don't like, because I feel it puts Iowa potentially at a competitive disadvantage. I mean, if Jordan Bohannon is to be believed with what he said like a month and a half ago on the Jared and Jabo podcast, that he feels that 20% of Iowa's losses in the time he was there, it was rigged and the officials basically cost Iowa the game. Let's just say I pretend to live in that make-believe fantasy world that Jordan's throwing out there, okay? Because I don't believe that. But let's just say that was real. If that's the case, it's because Fran can be an a-hole on the sidelines.
Oh, absolutely.
And the officials don't like him, so they're out to get him. That would be what that is. So, I don't know. I just don't buy that. That does not fit with inside the Occam's world. And I'm not insulting Jared or Jordan here. I'm just saying I don't buy that. But Fran's a good dude. He's a good coach. He's actually I think he's one of the best evaluators of talent of any college basketball coach I've seen. He just doesn't get to land them all that often.
He just keeps stumbling upon these Wooden Award winners. I mean, that's pretty good.
Well, you're right. You're right. He gets in on players early, and then their profile rises, and they go somewhere else.
I mocked him openly for signing the Murray twins. That's how dumb I am. We were.
That's a miss.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, you got Mahomes over here. We got the Murray twins over here.
You got. Well, I thought it was a joke. I'm like, oh, he's just getting all these legacy guys. These guys don't even have offers, and he was right. I was obviously very, very wrong.
Would you say that there was a better college basketball player than Keegan Murray last year? I know I'm asking you to go back to last year, which would kill me. I can't think of two other ones. But I think there's a case that could be made that he was the best player in college basketball last year.
I think
that's safer to say. You could make a case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You could make a case.
So what's a bigger – I mean, is that a bigger miss than the Mahomes prediction was a hit?
No. Because I was saying that about Mahomes when he was a freshman in college.
Okay.
Because everybody was freaking out when Baker Mayfield transferred from Texas Tech. I'm like, guys, this Mahomes guy's, he's going to change the game.
Yeah, and he certainly does things I've never seen.
He's a freak. Isn't it cool though? It's just a Kansas City guy, like that. Mahomes, like he's investing in the city. He's doing all these things that you just don't. It's like the anti-NBA guy, right? Because it's all super teams and there's constant player movement. Mahomes is like putting his stake in Kansas City. That's awesome as a fan.
Yeah, he's minority owner of the Royals.
Yeah,
you know,
and that soccer club,
the Current.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go down there and watch some Current games.
So, I'm just a big Patrick Mahomes fan.
You know, today's podcast so far is
trying
really
to get to this Big 12 television.
It is, but I love podcasts like this. I don't know that other people will, but these are my favorite kind of pod. Just drive that sucker right into the ditch, right off the road, and you don't know how you're going to get back on. And you may have to travel down some alleyways that aren't necessarily on Google Maps to get it back. But you're trying to get it back. Big 12 media, $50 million a year would be great.
I actually think that people might enjoy it because Iowa fans, I don't think really want to hear about Iowa, Ohio State.
You're not wrong. I'm not being critical. I will never be critical of the guy that's bringing topics to the show. Never. I'm just observing. I love the meandering road that we're taking, and you're right. I don't think Iowa fans want to hear me talk about how bad Iowa's going to get killed. And the fact that I put Ohio State in a parlay for this week and Ohio State's minus 28.5. I'm like, yeah, they're in.
Wow.
They're in. Of course I did. It's up to like 30.5 right now. I don't know that
I bet Iowa last night.
I saw that.
I finally did.
You know, I had to mute your notifications after 10 so I can get some sleep because that's when Daddy here sending in 10 bets that's blowing my phone up.
It is when I make my bets. Once I get the girls to bed.
Ding, ding. Daddy's going down Cody Road and needs a freaking intervention on his bets.
Yeah, that's when I go to town. You're right.
You do. But $50 million a year. If I would have told you the day after that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving to go to the SEC that don't worry, in 3 years you're going to sign a TV rights deal for the leftovers and bring in a few other non-marquee names, and you're going to get $50 million a year. Sign me up right there.
I totally agree, and the fact that they're going to stay linear for the most part is huge. Now, I think that the one thing that this story is probably missing is I would be shocked if there's not some sort of an Amazon-ish
That's fine.
No, I just think there could be an even higher end for revenue is what I'm trying to say, because I just think that kind of how that's been left open with the Big Ten, right? Like there could be a deal where they throw ESPN back into the mix, right? Like they're trying to carve out more content and whatnot, and this didn't mention that in the CBS report. What's interesting to me is the Pac-12 aspect, and it would seem to me that if the Big 12 jumps ahead of the Pac-12, which is due for a new deal right now, that's pretty bad news for our friends out west. As far as
I don't see how the Big 12 doesn't jump ahead of the Pac-12. I mean, it's the ratings. The ratings are that. Yeah, I just don't see. I don't see how that happens. And here's the thing though. If there is like an Amazon package, and I think there's going to be. I think the Big 12 is going to set the standard for a streaming service. They're going to have the most games on it of any league to date. Iowa State fans are not Luddites. The computer was invented in Ames, right?
George Washington Carver. We invented the peanut too.
Everybody knows that. Computer was invented in Ames, and Iowa State fans have grown to be experienced and adept at watching Iowa State games on streaming platforms. So if you're an Iowa State fan, this is great. More money for the program, and you already know how to find Iowa State's games on ESPN Plus and other streaming services. There is no disruption to your fan experience if you're an Iowa State fan.
The only thing that pisses me off is just it's how the media works. But it becomes like when you see these national guys throwing around the TV ratings.
Yeah.
It's like, so, for instance, like Oklahoma State and TCU drew a really good rating. It was like 2.1 million. Going up against Bama, Tennessee, and like that 2:30 slot last Saturday was insane, right? There's never any context given to any ratings, because then the same guy will post USC Utah, which is going up against nothing, and they'll be like, well, look at the rating this did compared to Oklahoma State and TCU. Well,
right.
Yeah, switch the time slots, dumbass. And right? So then TCU Kansas State, which is for first place in the Big 12, it gets put on FS1 on Saturday night. Right?
Where ratings go to die.
Yeah, right? And it's just like, well, no, dumbass, put that game on Fox and it's going to pull the ratings too. And then they'll use the bad ratings for that game against the Big 12, even though it was right. I get it. Certain schools draw more than others. I'm not dumb to that. But it also becomes a thing where you can kind of dictate what the ratings are going to be by where you put these games.
For sure. Yeah. And that's dumbassery. I mean, I saw some of Jamie's tweets this week relative to ratings. So it struck a nerve with him. That's one of the things I like about Jamie, is that his fan shows all the time. And he's a fan. Jamie's like us. And he'll make tweets and things that we would make that you might not see your typical athletic director make, which, who cares about a typical. So I like that. Jamie's a fan, and he was standing up for his league. Nobody circles the wagons like Big 12 fans. There's no doubt. You guys are all one arm in arm now, right?
Well, now because there's I've never seen the Big 12 like this. I remember back in the day when the Big 10, you guys were all like buddy. Oh, we do the revenue sharing. We do all this stuff. And the Big 12, everybody just hated each other because of the Nebraska, Texas. This was back when Nebraska leaving was still one of the dumbest things ever, because they controlled, right? They were
right.
They were in the driver's seat to make more. We've seen what happened. I understood why they were doing it at the time, but looking back in hindsight, they really could have flourished, I think. But now the Big 12, it's everybody. Pete Thamel put it really well with Rose and Bloom earlier in the week. He said everybody lives on the same street. You don't have a rich guy and a poor guy and a medium. They're all pretty much.
It's a really good analogy.
Type of house.
I like that. Yep, I like that. Everybody is living on Main Street Bondurant. None of these folks out in cushy West Des Moines.
Yeah.
We're all right down Main Street Bondu. You guys call it Bandu?
Yeah, we
You
call
should.
it Bandu.
You should. Yeah. You're all going uptown to eat at that great place that you and I had breakfast.
Somewhere in the middle,
Yeah, and then getting drinks right next door at the beer garden at the
Founders.
there you go. That's what you're doing. Your community. Big Ten right now, I hate them all. Everybody's got money. Everybody got paid. Piss off. There's no other team in the Big Ten I like. Don't like any of them.
Not a big UCLA guy.
No. Although I did have a UCLA Bruins hat when I was like 12, and it was made of corduroy.
The only thing cool about that move is you got sweet uniforms with UCLA.
Well, I guess I hadn't factored that into my equation, so I probably need to step back and consider it.
I was watching Utah USC last week, and that move all of a sudden pissed me off.
UCLA and USC? Why?
Because I just was thinking, like, this USC-Utah thing is exactly what college sports is supposed to be. Big brand, L.A., all the NIL money with Caleb, right? Like, all these hot shots, Lincoln Riley, coming to Utah, blue collar, in that place, blackout. We hate these guys. It's exactly what a regional college football game is supposed to be.
You don't think USC coming to Kinnick isn't going to be like Greasers and Socias and the Outsiders? I mean,
it could, but it'll happen once every 8 years.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's other people though. I mean, I get what you're saying. It's not like Utah and USC have a great deal of tradition.
No, they don't. But it's still, you felt that regional, I don't know.
No, listen, it bugs you.
You're right. There's not a ton of tradition there.
10 years from now, who knows if we'll even still be talking about college football? Who knows? I don't know. I don't think it's a given. It'd just be one Pangea, one conference of 30 to 40 teams or whatever.
That will ruin it for me.
That's why I'm saying, will we even be talking about it? Maybe we'll be all in on pickleball by then.
That's a big upcoming sport.
It is. I'm not doing it because I can see my Achilles going out. I just drive my golf cart, drive right past the pickleball courts at the club. And the pickleball courts are always packed.
They have pickleball courts at your club?
Oh, yeah. They got tennis courts, pickleball courts, multiple pools.
Do you have to wear a polo to get in there?
They got masseuse. Oh, yeah. There's a dress code.
Press pants.
There's a dress code.
So I can't wear overalls if I want to go golfing with you?
No. You can't. But you can wear, khakis.
I got one of those Columbia fishing shirts I like to wear golfing. It breathes.
Yeah.
Can I wear that out there?
Tuck it in.
Don't tuck those shirts in.
Then you don't get a no Coke.
You wear it unbuttoned and you ride.
You're out. We got a Muni down the road for you. Shiloh Springs in Platte City.
John Miller, Country Club Elitist.
Don't I look like it? Don't I look like it, baby? Just wearing my, my dregs here. I ain't no elitist. I don't got Phil Mickelson on my bookshelf back here like you do on yours.
Oh my God, that book's amazing.
Yeah, I bet
you gotta
it
read
is.
that book.
Yeah. I've got let me see here.
You got all your wife's vegan books.
Nope, that's upstairs. I've got 4 Foundations of Golf, Stephen King's The Stand, Steve Jobs, 3 Beatles books, Japanese Candlestick Trading Chart Techniques, Obama book, Queen. That's what I got right now.
The NCAA tournament has been getting a lot of discussion this week. There's all these basketball media days that are happening.
Yeah.
And if you would just search NCAA tournament on your computer, the only thing you will find is a plethora of coaches and commissioners campaigning for the NCAA tournament to be expanded well into the 100s.
Why are the coaches and athletic directors pandering for that?
Well, the coaches are doing it so that they can all make their stupid bonuses and say that they made the NCAA tournament.
Bingo. There's your answer. You'll see people say certain things, but there's always the real thing. So that is it from the coaches. And you know what? I'm not going to say that there's not merit to the argument, even though I think that the premise is not necessarily being forthright. Ken Pomeroy, a tweet I retweeted yesterday, said in 1985, when the field was expanded to 64 teams, there were 282 Division I teams at that point, or 22.7% of teams made it into the NCAA tournament. Okay. Well, now there's 363 Division I programs, and 22.7% of 363 is 82. Now, I'm not saying that 22.7% is some type of historical line of demarcation that we must maintain the same number from. I'm just saying it's an interesting take, and why I wouldn't just, tell everyone to piss off. We already moved it to 68. It's not 64 anymore.
No, we didn't. It's still 64.
Well, I get what you're saying. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. The first four, none of those guys are, they're all sitting around. They got the cameras on, right? And everyone's like, all right. And in Dayton, Austin P. And they're like, hey, all right, son of a bitch, we're not in the tournament yet. So anyway, but, I can see it either way.
If we expand, here's what we do. And I to the listeners of Fanatics over the years, you've heard me talk about this for 5 years now. You need to make Dayton better and make Dayton like its own tournament. And the winners that come out of these pods in Dayton get into the tournament. But we don't include those 16 seeds. Those 16 seeds belong playing in the real tournament. Right? Like, you don't win the SWAC conference tournament and then have to go to Dayton. If you win your SWAC conference tournament, you get to go to the real tournament.
Okay, I'm in.
Save Dayton. Put as many teams as you want in Dayton. Maybe it's a 16-team tournament in Dayton where 4 get out, and it's the last chance dance. And it's all
like the losing lottery ticket, second chance win deal,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean,
it's your high majors that are the last 16 in,
right?
And they're going to duke it out.
So if you're saying that conference tournament champions, for those, most conferences have those, get the automatic invite, then let them in the show.
Yeah,
I agree.
Enough of this farce.
Right. To me, I'd already say that the lowest 4 rated teams, whether they won their conference tournament or not, should be in Dayton. But if we're going to have an invitation process by which the automatic qualifier for the tournament winner gets you into the NCAA tournament, okay, let them be in. But don't relegate them to the couch on Animal House sitting next to Jug Dish that you're not going to get an actual invitation to
Never
the
seen
fraternity.
That one. Should I watch that?
Animal House? It's pretty funny.
Is it as good as Old School?
I think it's better than Old School, but I don't like stupid comedies. I don't like dumb. I've never seen Dumb and Dumber.
You've never seen Dumb and Dumber?
Nope. I don't like insulting stupidity in the form of comedy. But if you put...
you watch Iowa football.
Oh, boom! A bitch. Well, I don't know where we go from here. Yeah, I was listening to
I'm sorry.
The Washed Up Walk-Ons this morning.
I like that show.
And the only reason I tuned in this week, I knew there wasn't a game to talk about, was I knew they were going to be talking about the 2017 Iowa win over Ohio State. And it was awesome. I was laughing, had some good memories of a time that seems a long time ago. And I really enjoyed it. But then I started thinking, gosh, dang it, 11 o'clock on Saturday. I'm tuning in for a woodshed beating. And you may not know this about me, but I enjoy circuitous storytelling and writing devices. I like to end a piece or a commentary where I began it. So the premise is in the lead, and the last is I just close the circle. All right, I like to come full circle. I kind of worry that we're coming full circle on Iowa football. That 1999 offensive line was not ready for prime time. They were an embarrassment. This year's offensive line is kind of feeling like it's getting in the neighborhood of an embarrassment, and they're young. Iowa had better skill position players in 1999 when everyone said that Hayden Fry left the cupboard bare than they do right now. The defense right now is elite. Special teams, elite. But, man, I worry that what happens a lot of times in coaching is that, the guy stays around too long and becomes the villain. Well, Kirk Ferentz is probably worthy of, maybe even a statue, some people would say, alongside Hayden. I don't know. You can debate that.
I
But
think that the merits of what he's done are deserving of that.
I think that if you take away his very brief stint in Maine, his winning percentage meets the Hall of Fame criteria. You're talking about at least a 2, if not 3-time national, maybe 4-time national coach of the year, but at least 3. You talk about a couple 3 Big Ten championships. Yeah, I think he's deserving of it. Go ahead, make your piece.
Wouldn't he be considered to be more accomplished than Hayden Fry at Iowa?
I think if you were just strictly looking at numbers like that, yes, probably so. But when you're looking at what Hayden inherited versus what Kirk inherited, I would say no. But yeah, I mean, I want to get these things right before somebody reaches out. 2 Big Ten championships, 4-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, AP Coach of the Year in 2002, Coach of the Year in 2015. So it looks like 2-time Coach of the Year. So I was a little wrong there, but yeah, I mean, I think that that's commensurate with the Hall of Fame resume. I don't want to. I would rather not see him go out this way. But unfortunately, the marriage to his son as offensive coordinator is probably going to lead that way.
What's more likely, though? That Kirk has a new offensive coordinator next year and he's still the head coach, or that they all just pack up and leave together and he retires?
That is a great question.
Because it's going to get toxic, man. Like, it's already toxic, but
I would say this.
A lot worse.
Yeah, I would say this. If the lawsuit brought by some former players relative to concerns over racial disparity, which is about the nicest way I can say it, if that lawsuit has not been resolved by, I don't know, the next few months, I could see Kirk calling it a day. Because the thing is, I think that this is my opinion, okay, based on just looking at things and having lived in the world for 51 years, especially the world the last 4. I think Brian Ferentz is likely going to find it a very difficult road to be hired by anyone while this lawsuit is still ongoing. That is not me offering commentaries to the validity or substance in the lawsuit, or the opposite, whether it has none or not.
Well, look at the Doyle deal. He can't get a job.
That's the thing. He can't get a job. I'm not saying that Doyle and Brian are on the same footing. I'm just saying that looking at the world that we're in now, right. We're looking at the world that we live in now. Until this is resolved, until and unless this is resolved in quote unquote Brian's favor, let's just say, I don't know that he's getting a job as a football coach anywhere in the United States of America.
And let's be honest, when it comes to offensive accomplishments, he's not Art Briles, right? Like, he's
probably south of Art Briles relative to offensive accomplishments. It's safe to say.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm not comparing them morally here, but I'm saying, like, both guys have Briles. Obviously, we all know the severity of that, and he got run out of Baylor and all. But my point is,
you're not talking about that.
He was an all-star, right? He's like thought of as one of the brightest offensive minds in history. And you're like, well, I could see that guy getting the job at some point because somebody's going to be desperate enough.
Right.
No, he hasn't yet, and I'm shocked that he hasn't by now.
Because, again, it's the world we live in now.
Correct. And now you have Brian, who's less severe as far as all that the side stuff goes, but he's heading up the worst offense in college football.
Right.
That's a joke.
Right.
Go to a national podcast. Like, Iowa's offense is brought up as a joke consistently. So it's really tough.
Yeah. To me, it's like one of Kirk's buddies do you hire Brian as a tight ends coach? I don't know that you can even do that until this lawsuit is gone. And again, this isn't a discussion on the merits of the lawsuit or any of that. It's there. It's 2022. And I don't think that Kirk, under any circumstances, wants to fire his son. If Brian were able to find employment elsewhere, that would make it easy. But since I don't know that he is, and I imagine he wants to remain in the profession, I think it's really, does Kirk step away because he's tired of it? Or is Brian reshuffled to another position on staff? Would Brian be comfortable with that? Maybe the offensive line, maybe that's a face-saving thing. And then Kirk brings in another offensive coordinator. And I've tweeted this out. If you are an offensive coordinator worth a damn, why in the world would you go be Kirk Ferentz's offensive coordinator? Unless you have in writing with lawyers' involvement that says, I get to install the offense that I want to run. If you're Kirk Ferentz's offensive coordinator, you're a puppet. You are on training wheels. It's training wheels football. Okay, you're my offensive coordinator. I'll let you choose from one of these 4 plays on first down. But if we're second and long, you get to choose from one of these 6. They all must have this. Count me out. So if Kirk Ferentz is your head coach, and unless you feel confident in what he's told you that you are going to get to run an offense the way you – I mean, Kirk could even say, I want to run zone scheme. I want to be this type of philosophy. Okay, that's fine. Just let me handle it from here. Well, I just don't believe that's going to happen. So I think, I would say right now – I mean, to me, I would say right now I could be convinced 50-50 that Kirk if it comes down – if Brian, can't get another job somewhere by the time you get to February after signing day, or maybe I don't know.
I think that's more likely than Kirk firing his son.
For sure, there's no question. Kirk stepping away is more likely than him firing.
Yeah, reassigning and moving around the coaching staff.
But would Brian be willing to do that? I mean, it's definitely going to feel to him like a demotion, which it would be. Going from an offensive coordinator to an offensive line coach is a demotion. Would Brian's ego be able to handle that? But then again, would Brian's critical thinking abilities allow him to sit back and say, hey, I don't agree with any of this, but I recognize that the market may view me as toxic right now, too hot to touch, radioactive. I want to still coach football. It's what I want to do. And I can still make probably $500,000 to $600,000 a year being an offensive line coach at Iowa.
Hell, you may not even have to take a pay cut.
That's right. May not even have to take a pay cut. Because Bart, he's a direct report to Bart, and we all know Bart is like a big old bulldog wanting a little belly scratch, rolling over on his back when it comes time to talk about contracts.
Move him to O-line coach. Make the public plea that they need help there. They haven't been good for a while. It's Brian's specialty. He needs to focus on that, and he's also the assistant to the head coach.
Yeah, I try to bring Tim Polasek back and be your offensive coordinator. But he was there for a while. Maybe he's like, I don't want to do that. Again, the offensive coordinator thing's going to be hard unless Kirk decides to step away.
I'm really interested to know who the quarterback will be next year.
I think it's not going to be Petrus. He's got a COVID year, but there's no way. To me, you know what? With this Padilla stuff, the fact that Padilla hasn't gone into the portal, I think clearly Alex is not outperforming Spencer in practice. And if that's the case, well, then I don't want Alex Padilla as Iowa's quarterback next year. So I think it's going to be taking your licks with an unproven quarterback, whether it's the May kid from Oklahoma who's on campus, or the Labus kid, or the Linnaeus kid coming in from Jersey.
Labus isn't even close, according to Brian Ferentz.
I get it. So, but I think it'll be probably one of those 3, or transfer, or somebody in the transfer portal, which they should have done this year.
How bad does Labus have to be right now if he's not close to Petrus?
Well, you're not wrong in your assessment relative from logical deduction.
At the end of the day, though, I still we talk about the line. I feel bad for the line. And your analysis last week, when the defense knows what you're going to do,
yeah,
and your personnel's down, like it's kind of hard to play offensive line against. I mean, you're going against Big Ten defenses here.
It's real hard, and that I am so not looking forward to Saturday.
So real quick, because I have a 1 o'clock, I got a hard cutoff here.
Okay.
When that got over 30, I didn't bet a lot. I go on a unit scale, everything I bet.
Right.
Which 1 unit for me is $10. So it's
right.
not. I went a unit and a half on Iowa at 30.5 because I was just like, God, that's getting to be a lot of points.
Yeah.
But we've also seen Iowa just get killed by these types of uber talented teams in recent years. So like I'm not crazy confident, but man, it just you feel like Iowa, like the only problem is, John, they can't run the ball now. So shortening the game's hard if you're going 3 and out every time.
Defense will be on to me, I'd like to have an over-under of 40 minutes as to how long the Ohio State offense will be on the field. I would be willing to bet a unit that it's over 40 minutes. And if it's over 40 minutes, that spread's getting covered.
Probably right.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to Hawkeye Sunday.
Yes, I'll be here.
I'm going back home this weekend. I'm going to Clarinda. We're going to go see the folks.
Good. That's great, man. Clarinda in October is especially beautiful. Everyone knows that. Are you going to drive by the kids' home?
The Axe Murder House?
No, the place where all those kids had to wave outside that you tormented.
It got shut down, remember?
Okay.
They weren't tormented. It was a youth home.
You know, one man's prank is another person's torment. You're telling me right now that those kids don't have like emotional scarring from that they're telling their friends about, and one of their buddies is like, "Hey, wait a second, you were down at the Clarinda home, right?" "Yeah, I was." "Did you have to wait?" "Yeah, we had to fucking wave." There'd be these people that would drive by and honk, and they'd wave at us, and there's one car that just kept going back and forth. Those douchebags, they don't have any idea how much that still hurts. Yeah, well done, Chris.
Pontiac Sunfire in undisclosed information prior to it had a sunroof. SEC Tony would get up through the sunroof and
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, we all have things that we are ashamed of and would like to do over. It just seems like yours are a little more cutting edge than the average bear.
You used to mock people at a former president's grave.
No, those were living people. I didn't mock them. We tried to scare them.
I understand that, but you were disturbing a former president's grave.
Disturbing in what sense? You think old Herbie was saying, "Hey, man, keep it down. I'm trying to sleep." Dude, he was freaking. He is dust at that juncture.
How do you know the spirit's not there?
I don't. You know what? I'd like to think that if it was, dude was laughing, having a good old time with the Miller boys.
These goddamn kids from.
He'd say, "You know what? This is exactly what I did when I grew up right over there on the banks of the Wapsipinicon Creek. I'm glad to see there's still some fun being had in this damn town."
God bless you.
We'll see you.
I'm sure we'll text this weekend.
All right.
Go Hawks. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for listening.